Hey guys, if you don't have Photoshop, I have good news for you. There's a tool that I keep referencing in a lot of the videos and blogs that I'm putting out, and it's called Photopea. Why is it so blurry? And Photopea is a browser-based tool, and it's free. And today we're going to use it to create a Facebook ad, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So like I mentioned in the last several videos and blogs that I put out, I've talked about taking an image and then editing it for your ads, I guess, plural. I haven't really done a tutorial on that. I use Photoshop every day for my job. I have it. It makes sense for me to spend $600 or $700 a year to have that tool. For some of you that are starting out and some of you that might be interested in, the marketing your website for $99 series, our goal is to make that pretty accessible to everybody. We want to go over concepts and things that can apply to even larger sites, but we're trying to make it accessible. That's why this tool is mentioned. There's no cost involved, but what we're going to do today is I'm going to step through and I'm going to show you how to create just a square ad that I'm going to run on Facebook. And real quick before we jump into this, all you're going to need to start is an internet connection and a picture that you want to use for an ad. So I'm going to share my screen here and you should be able to walk through this with me. Now, before I get started, I want to mention something real quick. There was an ad that I came across by a gal named Melissa Griffin, and it looks like this. This was a Facebook ad that she ran, and it's a great image for one thing. It's a great photo, but I really just liked it. Was nice and simple. We're not going to get into copywriting today. We're going to talk about that in the blog. I'll link to the blog where we talk about that below. It's just a nice simple Facebook image. She's got this cool little like brush stroke effect going on down here and this kind of like slightly off kilter box. So I want to do something that's kind of similar to that, but I wanted to give her credit. If you just go to melissagriffin.com, she's got some cool stuff on blogging and things like that. So it's worth checking out. So if you do a Google search for Photopea, Photopea is going to load up. You're going to have ads over on the right underneath my face over here. Because we're doing a new ad, all I want to do is I want to create a new project. I want it 800 by 800 pixels. Now the minimum size on a square Facebook ad is 600 by 600, but I don't want to go larger than 800 because then my workspace wouldn't fit in this area that you can see on the screen right here. So then it'd be confusing. So we're going to go new project, and it's going to offer us up some templates, which is kind of cool. Because we know what size we want, I'm just going to type 800. I'm going to make sure this says px for pixels. I'm going to then change this to 800, so it's 800 wide by 800 tall. 72 dpi is fine. Since we're creating this image for the web, we're going to leave it at 72 dpi. If you're doing photo editing and things like that for print, you're going to want to go to 300, but that would be kind of hairy using this tool for that. So I'm just suggesting that you use it for images that you're going to be using online on your site, on your blog, or in this case in ads. Go ahead and name your project if you want. I'm just going to call it new Facebook ad. And then at this point, I don't need anything else, so I'm just going to hit create. And we're going to see our workspace come up. Over here, this is what's called the layers panel. You can see we have one layer and it's locked. I actually want to unlock that, so I'm going to double click that and just hit OK. So when you click this little eyeball on the left of a layer, it turns your image on or off, or it turns your layer on or off. When you see these little black and white checkers, that means you're just looking at the transparent background. But what I want to do here is I'm going to open the first image because I have some work to do on it. So I'm going to go File, Open, and then I'm just going to select now from my computer this file right here, and I'm going to hit open, and it's going to open in a new tab. What I'm going to do is grab my marquee tool over here. It's this little box with the little broken up line, and I'm going to select everything. And the other way that you can do this, I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. If you hit Control A, it'll select everything. It'll select the full area. So now I'm going to hit Control C to copy. And then I'm going to come back over to my Facebook ad tab, and I'm going to hit Control V to paste. And theoretically that should work. There we go. Okay, so the first time I did this, there was a notification that came up in my browser up here. Chrome kind of said, hey, Photopea wants to use your clipboard. Is that cool with you? So say yes if that comes up for you. So now this is way too massive. As you can see, it's off of my work area, and we want to get this down to scale. So I'm selecting layer 1. You can see layer 1 is selected if you click around. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform. That's going to allow me to resize the image. Now the image was placed dead center on my workspace here. So if I go up here and I say, I'm gonna drop this to about 30, let's go with 35%. And then I'm gonna hit this little button right here. It's not quite an equal sign, but what that'll do is it'll make the height adjust to 35 as well. Okay, so now it's on. Now if I change this to 35, there. Now if I select, they're calling it the move tool. So if I select the move tool over here, I can click and drag this layer around. So I want to be a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna undo, and then I'm gonna undo again. So I'm gonna hit Control Z, and I'm gonna hit Control Z again. And then I'm gonna go back to Edit, Free Transform, and this time we're gonna try 40%. So I'm clicking 40% in the one field right here, and then I'm clicking over in height, and then it's changing it for me. It's going 40 by 40. Do I want to show the coffee cups in the ad? I don't know, maybe. Or do I want to go like that? No, right about like that should be fine. Let's go a little bit smaller. We'll go 38. Click over. So then I'm gonna hit this little check mark to confirm. So that's confirmed. Now, once this is in here, what we want to do is what we refer to as non-destructive editing. So I actually want to go and I want to make changes to this, but I want to do it in a way that I can undo them if I want. So remember, we're going to want that brush stroke effect kind of on the outside edge, but I want to do some quick airbrushing on my face just to make those bags and things a little less noticeable. And then I might play around with brightness or the contrast. I'm going to keep this initial layer here and I'm going to rename it Original. And the other reason I want to keep that as my bottom layer is so I can go in when we're done and I can turn off my top layers or my adjustment layers, and I'll show you how to group those together. And that way we can see the difference when we get done. So now I want to make a copy of my original layer, and I'm going to hit Control J to do that. Oh, if you're on a Mac, it's probably like Command J, or you guys are a little bit different. I'm thinking about Macs, gosh dang it, whatever, Alt Command, Apple icon, up, I don't know what it is. Now that I've got this layer duplicated, I'm gonna duplicate it again. Now I wanna do a little bit of airbrushing on this. This one is gonna be, I'm gonna call this airbrush, and then I'm gonna make this one invisible for now. So what I'd like to do here on this airbrush layer is I need to go in and I need to blur it. Filter, blur, surface blur. Now this is gonna give us a preview. Okay, so we're gonna go with a radius of 40 and a threshold of 20. Now, if you're doing this, I would say just go ahead and play around with it. Don't worry that my face is getting completely blurred out, because what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna paint this in over the lowest layer. So I'm gonna hit OK now that this is all blurred out. And I'm gonna apply what's called a layer mask. And so we're sticking with the concept of editing without being destructive. So down here, this is, well, they're calling it a raster mask in here. So we're gonna go ahead and add that. And so this mask right here is completely white. That means it's gonna show everything within this whole workspace because it's white. Now, if I were to take a brush tool and I were to draw on here in black, it would remove that blurred portion. So just as an example here, let's go ahead and switch to black, and I'm gonna make sure that my layer mask or my raster mask is selected, and I'm gonna start to draw on it. See how it's kind of like it's going away? So my blurred layer is going away. Now if I hit Control Z to undo, Control Shift Z to redo, see how we can see that going away and coming back? So what we want to do is we want to use this to actually brush in the smoother skin really quickly in a couple of spots. So I'm going to click on this raster mask, and I'm going to hit Control I to invert. And so that makes it all go away. Now I'm going to select the brush tool over here, and I'm going to hit D on my keyboard, and that's going to switch my color palette to just white and black down here. Now I can go in and I can take, and to just zoom in right there, I hit Control plus on my keyboard, and then to switch my cursor to the hand, I just press spacebar. That allows you to click and grab and move your workspace, and Control plus and Control minus let you zoom in and out. I'm gonna take white, I'm gonna brush on this raster mask over here and just go like this. And we're gonna kinda airbrush some of just the like unpleasant spots that everybody gets, you know. I'm gonna smooth out the skin on the face a little bit. Okay, go like that. Let's go ahead and smooth out the forehead just a smidge. Not too concerned with that. This is kind of weird looking, so we're gonna airbrush that a little bit. We don't want to go crazy with this, because if we do, it's gonna You know when people use that filter on their phone and it looks like they sandblasted their face and they have it cranked all the way up and they're like a blurry sandblasted version of it. Don't do that. It looks terrible. Right here, we got that's with, that's without. That's with, that's without. So we've smoothed out the skin. Now I want to take a step here and make it a little bit less obvious. So I'm going to select the layer, and right where it says opacity, I'm going to drop that to 70%. That's going to show a little bit of the background, so I'm not completely covering up all of the imperfections, but it's going to blend a little bit better. So if I zoom out now, on, off. The next thing that we want to do is we want to adjust brightness and contrast. I want to create a new group so that I can apply different adjustment layers to it. So I'm going to hit Control G. This is going to give me a new folder, and I'm going to name this folder Adjustment Layers. Now right now nothing is in this folder. Oh, it looks like my airbrush is in that folder, so that's fine because we might want to turn that off at some point. So above that airbrush layer, now I'm going to add an adjustment layer, which is right here. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to do curves, and we're going to click and drag on this line. We're going to play around with this here just a little bit so you can see what happens if I take this and raise it up or lower it. I don't really want to nudge that too much, maybe just a smidge. Remember, you can turn your layers on and off. There's with, there's without, with, without. Okay, I want to add a brightness and contrast layer. And you get sliders for this setting. Brightness, I don't really want to mess with brightness. That kind of tends to wash you out quite a bit. If I want to raise the brightness level of a piece that I'm working on, a lot of times I'll go to that curves layer first and see if I can do it with that. That tends to be a lot more subtle than kind of what you see here. Occasionally I'll grab the brightness slider and I'll bump it up by like 5. You know, that's not bad. Now contrast is an interesting setting because you can take this and crank it up and get this like really dramatic effect with it, or you can drop it down and you can kind of wash everything out. Sometimes based on the photo that you're working with, you're better off taking this contrast and dropping it down a little bit. Because of the way my photo looks, I'm thinking that I actually want to bump this up slightly. So I'm going to bump that up to 20, and let's turn it on and off just to test it. That gives me a little more separation from the background, and I like that. I am going to turn my airbrush up slightly though. I'm going to go to 80% on that. Click on this little arrow to open and close your folder. If I click on this eye next to the folder, it's going to turn it off. So let's turn it off and see where we were at. Okay, there's where we're at now. All right, so there's one more thing that I want to do. I want to adjust the colors because this is very kind of reddish. It's got a reddish tint to it. Let's go to color balance. I'm moving these sliders around. All I'm trying to do is remove a little bit of the red from the image and introduce a little bit more blue. I don't want to add a ton though, because that tends to cool the image off, and we don't want to go crazy with it. I just want it to be a little bit less red. So now we've added that in there, and again, if I click on this, it's going to show me my original. There's the original. There's our new one. Smooth out a little bit. Colors are a little bit more vibrant. So I'm good with that for now. That's my adjustment layer. We can move all this around if we want to. So I've got my original layer and my adjustment layers selected together. And the way I did that I just held Control, and then you can click on the layers that you want to select or deselect. And I can move that around because I didn't destroy the background. So when I resized it, I retained a lot of that. So I can adjust the placement where I'm sitting. You know, if I wanted to change this to where I was over here, that looks really silly. So I'm not going to do that. That'll work. Now, if I turn on this copy that I made, see how it moved? We're going to delete that. And then we're going to make a new copy. So I'm going to select original, Control J, move it up to the top. Okay, there it is. Now I'm going to turn that off. Now we want to add that white kind of brush stroke effect to the image so that we want to create that border. So I'm going to create a new layer here. I'm just going to go down here right here on this little paper with a weird looking corner thing on it. So we're going to add this new layer, and what we're going to do with this is we're going to add the brush stroke just kind of around the edge. So I want to go over here to the paintbrush tool, and then I want to select a different brush. So all I did was, now that I have the paintbrush tool selected, I right clicked on my workspace, and you can adjust the size right here, which we're going to want to do. Let's go to about 40. The hardness is how hard the edge of the brush is. 100% is a hard edge on the brush, and 0% is a really soft edge. So just to show you what that looks like, if I go to 0 here, if I take that and I start to brush, see how it's kind of got that like fuzziness to the edge? If I take and I put the hardness at 100, it's really a hard edge on that. So something to keep in mind. We want to select a brush that's going to give us kind of a brush stroke type feel to it. This one looks like it might do that. So let's go ahead and test that. That's okay. Let's see what else we got here. That's too light. No, wet shader basic. Okay, so as far as the brushes go, the closest one that we have to what we're looking for is this round noisy marker. And you can see when I select it, my hardness locks in at 100. That's fine. And we're going to take this and bump it up to about 200. So we want a pretty big brush. We want to do a couple of big exaggerated brush strokes here. And I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to start going around the edge. We don't want it to be perfect. This isn't exactly giving me the look that I'm going for. So let's try something here. I'm going to hit Control A to select all, and then I'm hit delete. I'm going to clear my layer out. Let's go back to that brush. We're going to bump it up to 250. And then we're going to work on just the top here for a second. Then I'm going to take it and we're going to drop it down to about, let's try 150. And we'll do a couple of just kind of smaller strokes. I'm happy with that, but I have too much white now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this layer and I'm going to grab the move tool and I'm going to hit shift and the up arrow. And that's going to allow me to bump that entire layer up. When you press shift and up or down, it moves the layer by 10 pixels. If you just press up or down when you have the move tool selected, it'll move it around. But if you press shift, you can go a little bit faster. So I want to be right there. I want to grab my brush tool and I want to add some more down here. Because I don't like the top of this brush, which is really rounded and fluffy and looks like a cloud, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to copy it and then I'm going to flip it. We're going to call this brush 1 and we're going to hit Control J to copy it again. And then we're going to flip it. We're going to rotate it. Edit, transform, rotate by 180 degrees. So now again, our copy is this lower portion. And if we want to move that around, we can go ahead and select the move tool, press down, up, we got some overlap. So we don't want it to look like an exact copy of what was there. And there we go. We got a little edge on our image. Okay, that's kind of cool. This copy, because it's invisible, I'm going to move it down here. And then I'm going to put the brush in our adjustment layer folder. Put it right at the top. So then again, if we want to see where we've gotten since we started, I can turn all my adjustment layers off. I can turn them all on. Okay, cool, there we go. Next thing I need to do is I need to add a call to action over here. Now when you're doing a Facebook ad, your text can only take up about 20% of the image. That's the rule of thumb. They can still reject it because they're Facebook and they can do whatever they want. I just want to add a little bit of text. I'm going to click on the type tool over here. Let's see what we got for fonts. With an ad, we're not really trying to get cute. We're just trying to get people to be able to actually read the thing. So we're going to go with condensed. Let's go with bold. Let's click on here and see if it creates a new layer for us. It should. There, it created a new text layer and it just loaded up our font. So I know that this text is going to go on a colored block. I want to put it on a colored block, so it's going to be white. So I'm going to select it all. Up here, there's a color box. This is for our text. So we're going to click on that. We're going to select white, or if you want to type it in, it's hex code FFF. There you go. We're going to hit OK, and that will make it white. What I'm offering with this ad is a free 15-minute website review to up to 10 people. So what do I want to say there? Claim your free website review. I want this to look a little bit more interesting and I want it to be a little bit larger. So we're going to go all caps here. Claim your free website review. And let's make this top one light and italic, maybe regular italic. So that's 42, say yes, we like that. And let's bring this up to, yay far, that's fine, yes, we like that. And then we're gonna go like this and center it. And we're going to move it right here. Okay, so I do wanna show you one other thing real quick with the type tool. So we've kind of got it sized up It's not too big, I don't think, but I want to make it kind of line up a little bit more. Grab the type tool, or you can press T. We're going to select this text, and we're going to hit the CHA for character over here. Now this lets us adjust things like tracking and leading. I want to space these letters out, and I actually want to make them a little bit smaller so that the emphasis is on website review. So we're going to drop this to 32, and then we're going to come in here to tracking, and we're just going to say, let's just say 5% to start. And then I'm going to click into a different field so it does it. Kind of changed. Let's go to 25%. Okay, let's go to 75%. Okay, let's go to 95%. If we go to 100% here, I believe we've doubled the spacing between our letters. Let's go to 120. Let's go to 150. And I'm going to hit confirm over here, and let's see how that looks. Now I can bump this size up slightly. We're going to go to 44, and then over here in leading, it gives us the option for pixels. Well, let's say 10 pixels. That's probably going to make it overlap. See how that text is now overlapping? Leading is the amount of space between your two lines. So let's go ahead and bump that up to 40, because I do want it closer than what it was. Let's confirm and see where we're at. I'm going to make this come out a little bit wider. Let's do 175, and I'm going to make this a little bit further away, so 45. And I'm going to hit this to close my characters panel. Then what I need to do is I need to create a box underneath this text. Let's go ahead and grab our move tool here, and we'll bring this text back in slightly. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can either use the shape tool, which is down here. They're calling it the rectangle tool, or you can use the marquee tool. I'm going to use the marquee tool just because it's nice and easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer and make sure that it's underneath my text layer. We're going to call this colored box. I'm going to grab my marquee tool, and I'm going to select the area that I want the box to fill up. So I want it to be about this big, and I know that that's not centered, but we're going to fix that. So now I'm going to come down here to my color picker, and let's go with pretty bright blue. I don't want to quite match my shirt, but I want something that's nice and bright. Hit OK. We're going to go to the fill tool, or the paint bucket tool, and we're going to click in there. Then we're going to hit Control D to deselect. Okay, so now I want to take and I want to nudge my text into the center of this box. So we're just going to grab the move tool, and instead of hitting shift and arrows, I'm just going to hit arrows left and right. Let's make sure that my text is selected and not the other element. And we're going to move that into place. Claim your free website review. That looks good. And then I'm going to select both of them so I can move them around like that. Now again, this is the very top of our image. So we can go ahead and place this in our adjustment layers folder. So let's do that. There's with nothing. There's with our stuff on top of it. Now I like that. One other thing I'm going to try to do is add a little bit of a shadow underneath this claim your free website review. A couple different ways you can do this. Let's see if we can actually go to blending options. So all I did was right click on this layer. I selected blending options, and we're going to go down here to drop shadow. And this is probably crazy huge, and it is, and we don't want that much. So we're going to distance, we're going to drop that to 3. Spread, we're going to put it 3, and then size, we're going to put it 3. See how we've got a little bit of a shadow on that image now, but it's not overwhelming. Let's put this at 90, so it's straight up and down. Maybe we'll do 95, so we should be slightly to the right. I'm sorry, slightly to the left. And opacity, we'll put that at 65, and we'll drop the distance actually down to 2. So see how that just makes our text stand off that block a little bit more. And I think we're good to go, although I am going to add a border and a slight shadow on the box as well. So I'm going to right click, blending options. We're going to go to drop shadow. Hopefully it saved my settings. It did. So it's just got this real subtle shadow on it now. I'm going to make it stand a little bit further down below, or move a little bit further down below the box. So let's take this and put it at 4 pixels. And then I want to put a white single line stroke around the edge of the box. So click on stroke right here, and we're going to go to size 1, and we're going to go to fill type or fill color. We're going to go with white. So remember, we can just do FFF. I like what 1 does. It just adds a little bit to it. So now I'm going to hit OK. Here's our adjustment layers. There's our before, there's our after. Right there, we've just spent, however long. I think it's taken me about 30 or 40 minutes, because I've been going back and forth with video stuff, to put this simple ad together. Now I want to save this, and so I'm going to go File. I could either save this as a PSD if I wanted to open it within Photoshop, or I'm going to go to export as JPEG right here. And then here's our width by our height. You can look at it to make sure that all of our layers are on. Quality 70%. I don't want to do that. I want to do 100% at the best resolution I possibly can. So we're going to do that. I'm going to hit save. Here, files for ads, new Facebook ad 1C, save. One other thing I wanted to show you guys, the reason that we did this in a non-destructive manner was, again, so we could go back to the original image if we needed to, but we can also reuse this kind of brush and call to action here on another image. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to open another image. We're going to go to File, Open. I'm going to get this other image that I have from my site, and we're going to select all with Control A. We're going to copy with Control C, and then we're going to deselect with Control D, just so that marquee isn't flashing in the other tab here. And then I'm going to close this. Then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to turn off my airbrush layer, because that's only for this first one that we were working on. And I'm going to paste this above my first image. I'm going to hit Control V, and then it kind of drops it into place. Now I need to move that around because I got a call to action on my head. But let's go like about like there. That's not bad. We're in pretty good shape. Okay, I like that. Now just to test these adjustment layers and make sure that I want them, here's if I turn the curves on or off. That's fine. Brightness and contrast. That's fine. Color balance. Not crazy about the color balance and what it's doing. Okay, so we're going to tweak that a little bit. Actually, you know what? We're just going to get rid of it. So we'll remove that layer, and then the brush is there. That's fine. We want that. We got our box. I think we're good. So now I can go up here, go File, Export as JPEG, 800, 800, 100%. Yep, save. And we're just going to call this new Facebook ad edited 2. So just like that, as you see in the second example, we're able to create another ad with the layers that we set up. And so it makes us much more efficient. Now I can run those two ads against each other, and we're going to talk about that in some other blogs and things like that. I'll link to those below. The sun has managed to go down since I started this, but I hope that gives you enough of a base to get in there and start playing with the tool. If you don't have Photoshop and you need a way to put ads together, this is a great way to make some edits that look nice. It makes it look better than just a standard photo that you would take on your phone. So don't be afraid to get in there and play around. So we're actually going to run these ads, and we're going to see how they do. If you want to see how they do, if you're curious kind of what we have going on and why we even made them to begin with, go ahead and head over to the site, check out some of the blogs that correspond with these YouTube videos. Drop your email in there if you want to get notifications, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care. See ya. Bye. Hex code FFF. There you go.